We've helped hundreds of clients build better construction companies.
We love this business, we love the people, and we've seen what running a successful, profitable business takes.
And we're sharing it all with you here on Construction Hot Takes.
Welcome to today's Hot Takes podcast. Today we're going to talk about some tricks and tips maybe to get ahead in construction by talking about how we got into the business, why we got into the business, some lessons learned, some successes, maybe some failures, and pull back the curtain a little bit.
I think it's time that the viewers get to know a little bit about us as people and construction people. So, Jeff, how did you first get into the industry?
The origin story.
That's right. That's right. Just like every good superhero.
You're a superhero.
Or a villain.
Depends on the day. How did I get into this business? Well, it was kind of an accident, I guess. So I was in high school, and my stepdad was in the business. He was a project manager for a decent-sized general contractor. And I was looking for a summer job, and he said, "You need to work construction this summer. You'll get 40 guaranteed hours. You might even get some overtime hours. You'll make $5 an hour," which was double what my friends were getting paid working at the Gap or at the whatever they were working.
At the mall, yeah.
Yeah, somewhere at the mall. And so I was like, okay, whatever. I don't know what I'm getting into. And I absolutely fell in love with it.
Was it residential? Commercial?
It was commercial. It was commercial. First job I worked on was a linear accelerator at St. Joseph's Hospital in Lexington. It was a cancer unit, and I got there. The forms were up. They had not poured. I mean, these were 3-foot thick walls. They were really big. So the forms were up. They were finishing the form work when I got on site in early June or late May or whenever I started after school, and I was just a laborer. They sent me after board stretchers and.
Yeah.
They send you after a Sawzall the first time. You're like, I don't know what that is. I heard saw. So I literally grabbed everything with a jagged blade on it and like carried them back into the building. The guy, he was a good guy. He just went, that one, take the rest back, So I swept up a lot.
And then behind your back, they're like, this kid. He doesn't know anything yet.
So, I was really conscious of the fact that everybody would know that my stepdad got me the job, and I was a 17-year-old kid, and I worked my ass off. I wanted to prove. I didn't know what I was trying to prove, except that I could work hard. I didn't know anything for sure, but I just liked to be in there, and I liked being outside. I liked watching the process and like what comes next, and trying to guess because I don't know anything.
Right.
But you can kind of go, well, I think the next thing that's going to happen is this. And sometimes I was right, sometimes I was wrong, The very first day I got there, my very first day on the job, superintendent comes out, and there's I did my paperwork or whatever in the trailer, and he takes me out, and there's a jumping jack, a tamper or a whacker packer, whatever you call it, sitting there. And he says, "Do you know what that is?" And I didn't know what it was. And he said they had piled dirt up against the side of the building, and they needed it compacted. And he said, so he taught me how to start it up. He taught me how to kind of maneuver it a little bit, and then walked away. He just said, compact all that. No help dragging it up the mound of loose dirt. Nothing. So I drug it up there, and I cranked it up, and immediately went boom, 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 and it dug itself into a hole. It was super loose dirt. So then I spent the next hour going to find a shovel, digging it out. It was 100% I'm going to try to make this kid quit on day one. I got nowhere that day.
They do.
And I had my blisters on my hands. They were like hamburger meat from fighting that thing all day long. I loved every second of it. Every second of it. I couldn't wait to get back to work, even though my hands were killing me.
Well, how did you get into construction? Because you came from a finance background.
Yeah, different, which is interesting. So I never really worked in the field. I've been to the field a lot, but I never worked in the field. I started in New York City on the finance side. I was always a numbers guy, and I still love numbers. And I found myself doing at a hedge fund, identifying investments with other people's money. And we tended to go towards, real estate and development and construction. And I just kind of I fell in love with things being built. it's not there today, and 6 months later it's there.
Right.
And so from the finance side and from the money side and from the raising money side and seeing how money is spent on construction jobs. And when the crisis happened in '08 and '09 and the hedge fund world kind of died for a few years, I was like, well, I don't want to get out of construction. I want to stay in it. I like this. So I found a job. I moved in order to take this job. I left New York and came to Atlanta and actually got a job as a CFO. I'd been the CFO of that fund, so it wasn't a big stretch, but I was young and I just thought, well, how hard is it to be the CFO of a construction company? Hard. It can be hard, but that's how I just fell in love with the whole concept. And then I learned about project accounting through those jobs, and I learned about how to look at jobs and how to make money on projects and all that stuff that I still love today. So,
And Jeff, you went to Auburn and got a degree in construction management?
Yeah, so
Did they call it that back then?
They call it
college?
yeah. They actually at Auburn it's called a building science.
Okay.
Some schools call it different stuff, but it's basically construction management. It's kind of a quasi business, quasi management degree. Construction, they teach you. We took engineering classes.
Mhm.
Like I took applied steel design and concrete design and things like that. Temporary structures, those things, math classes. But we also took management classes and some business-based, accounting and things like that. But we learned about RFIs and we learned about scheduling and we took drafting classes, all kinds of stuff.
I'm going to ask a question. When you got out of that program, did you feel any more prepared to go into construction than that first day as a teenager on the job site?
That's a fantastic question. I thought so. I did. Going back to my stepdad again, I graduated and he congratulated me and he said, congratulations, you earned a degree at Auburn and
Yeah.
that's something to be proud of. And now you don't know anything all over again.
You still don't know anything.
Go out in the field and learn how to build now.
Yeah.
yeah.
He honestly said, there's a kid somewhere on a job site that is exactly your age that did not have the opportunity to go to college for any reason. And he went out and started working as a laborer like you did summers, except he was full-time. Maybe he became a carpenter in those 4 years while you were in school. And he knows how to build more than you do. You might know a few more things here and there about the management and the finance of building the building. He knows how to build. Go find that kid and learn from him. So it was excellent advice. I took it. I think it was fantastic advice.
So now, Greg, you didn't get a construction degree. You have a finance degree. So you learned all on the job. You got OJT training.
I 100%. I went to
How
college.
many years running as the CFO did it take before you really felt like you knew the business?
I say this to people all the time. I think you can feel competent in a job after a year. I think after a year of a new job, you can wake up in the morning and not feel terrified about what you're doing.
Well, you could know what you're doing or know you don't.
Right. That's true. But I think it takes 5 years to be an expert, to really have done almost everything in a job, kind of to circle track.
10,000 hours to become an expert.
Right, exactly.
Hours a year.
And I've seen it, and I tell people that, kind of clients, and I tell myself that I've learned that it's about 5 years, and I did that job for twice as long.
Right.
And I had been on the investment side of construction for a lot longer than that. The day-to-day running construction companies, looking at the numbers and the projects and dealing with the PMs and dealing with the ops teams and learning what they do and learning what I do and how we interact, that took 5 years easily.
Plus, the company was growing during that time.
We
so
grew.
It was not like it was like trying to hit a moving target. I mean, sure, like something new came up every year.
It was.
You went through mergers, acquisitions.
We
bought into a
scaled.
company, you scaled up. You got into government work, public
That's
work. You got
right.
certifications. Like it was an evolving business. So I don't know. Like as a business evolves, I know as a business owner, I'm constantly having to evolve to keep up with what the business is doing. And if I stop evolving, the business stops evolving. Did you see that in your company too?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. You don't ever know. I don't know about a lot of other industries, but I will say, I think that construction is one of those industries that no 2 days are really ever the same. No 2 days are the same. No 2 years are the same. I just had a conversation with someone who had a fantastic year 2 years ago. Went into this current year and just didn't have a great year. The backlog fell off. The projects were difficult. Every single day and every single project can change things. And you learn that in real time by doing the job every single day. It takes time to learn that. And I went through that. Yes.
All right. So let's get into a little bit more detail about who you are as a person, who we are. So what are some things that you find that you do that either set you apart from your peers or you really feel have made you really successful in your career in construction?
Do you want to take that, or you want me to go?
I've got one.
Go ahead.
I can go first if that helps. Okay. It's funny because I was thinking of this just the other day about jumping into something. It's not new now, but when I jumped into construction, it was new for me. I'd been on the money side of it, and I got into the day-to-day of it. And one of the things that I do, sounds a little braggadocious, but it's just the truth, is you have to do the work, I think. You have to do the work, physically do the work, and show up every day and all that stuff, but then learn what you don't know and be okay with saying, I don't know that, so I'm going to go learn it. I think I learned this in business school, actually. It is always okay to say, I don't know. It's never okay to stop asking what happens next, though. So I don't know, but then go find out. Go do the research. Go ask someone. Go to a mentor. Go to somebody else. Don't just stop because you don't know. And one of the things that I've done in my career, and I think all construction professionals could do, if you don't know something, one, admit it, two, go find out, and be willing to ask someone's help to find out, because then you're going to know it forever. You're going to know it, and you're going to see that again on the next project, when the next time you hire somebody, when the next time you deal with a client. And I've done that now for 15 years.
I had I was young. I was maybe 2 years out of school. My boss was on vacation, so like I had to go, if I had a question or a concern, I had to go to the operations manager. So way above my pay grade, like 2 or 3 above, 4 maybe above my pay grade.
It's a scary office. Door to knock on.
But, and so I don't know what I had a question about. I don't remember exactly, but I was probably checking a shop drawing or something, and I didn't know what something was or something. So I went into his office and asked the question. And he said, well, have you looked in the contract? Have you looked on the drawings? Have you looked? He named off 3 or 4 places to go look to see if I could find the answer. And the answer was no to every one of those. I had not done any of those things.
You hadn't done the work yet.
I had not done any of those things. And so he says, so he kind of told me the answer. He said, well, I'll tell you what, it's probably here. I'll save you a little time. You don't have to look in those other 2 places. Go there. And if it's not there or you don't understand it, come back and see me. He said, but before you leave, I want to be really clear about this. If you ever come into my office again and ask me a question without having at least some form of an answer, a guess at what the answer is, maybe 2 options, maybe like, well, I think it's this, but it could be that, you're fired. He scared the crap out of me.
Man, it's a scary office to go.
But I never did it again. And I learned, oh, wait, I'm supposed to go figure this out first. I should go to the contract. I should look in the specs. I should go, I don't know where else, to the subcontract, if whatever the case may be, and think for myself, formulate a potential answer. And then if I don't feel 1,000% confident, then I can go say, hey, here's the situation. I think I should do this, but I don't know. What should I do? That he was totally okay with. And I thought that was a really good lesson.
I think that dovetails into what I was saying. I think it's okay. I hope what he would have said is, it's okay if you come back with those 2 choices and neither one of them are exactly right.
No, yeah,
because then it would be like, well, then
he framed it in a very old school way, but that's what he was saying.
Yeah.
He was trying to teach me a lesson of
absolutely bring something to the table, and then I'll tell you if you're on the right track or not.
Maybe an alternative thing would have been, hey, you're a smart kid, and I think you could figure this out.
Yeah.
Don't be lazy.
And don't be lazy. Right?
Do the work.
Yeah.
Do the work. Yeah, I agree with that.
But he chose to
scare
the crap out of me.
Intimidation works too.
Yeah.
It is construction.
Right.
I'll add to that. I think for me, the advent of the internet has been a miracle, because now I don't always have to admit to somebody I don't know something.
Sure.
I could go figure it out on my own afterwards. I don't have to go look for a mentor or somebody more senior. But I still walk into your office and ask you questions about things that general contractors do from time to time, because every time I work with a client, I hear something different. I hear something unique about them, and I don't always grasp it right away. So I do think there's a lot of value in being able to ask people. And now that we've gotten into this whole private equity thing, they're using acronyms that I don't understand, and I'm on Google, and there's like 20 different things that this acronym could be, and I'm like, I don't know which one it is. But I come to you and go, Is it one of these three?
Yeah. Well,
I think-
which one do you think this is? I'm just going to add one thing to that. I think, but you're doing the same thing that I said, which is, so maybe you're not asking someone else,
But I'm
you're
asking the internet.
well, you're acknowledging to yourself that you don't know, and it's okay to go look.
I think
Look it up.
there's been books written about this, but I think having self-confidence enough to ask a question, and maybe it's be vulnerable or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But you're in a room and you don't realize what's going on. It's a power move to ask, wait a minute, I need to stop everybody here and make sure I'm not up to speed here. I don't know if you need to do that intentionally necessarily, but it does set you apart.
I did that with somebody recently. I said, hold on, can we stop for a second? What do you mean by that?
I mean, in a genuine
great.
way.
Yeah.
I say power move, but if you're
it's the
genuine about it,
confidence,
people are
the
like, "Oh,
confidence.
look, that guy.
Yeah, you're not just
he's not
faking.
afraid to say he doesn't know, and let's talk about
What's
that."
really fun is that we have young children now, and they are not afraid to ask you anything. They have no shame. They have no sense of ego. They just don't understand something. They just ask.
Yeah,
I mean, that's good insight. Kids learn by asking questions.
Yeah.
Why don't adults learn by asking questions?
Because we
I
don't
think
wanna
we
look-
should.
we don't wanna
wouldn't
look
look bad or stupid or embarrassed.
Right.
But I think I think a successful person, back to your question, a successful person asks what he or she doesn't know, and then builds on it, and then hopefully steps up one day and passes that information on to somebody else. I mean, that's what construction is.
I will say this: it's really hard to raise your hand in the middle of like a site meeting with a general contractor.
Oh, yeah,
with
it is.
20 people sitting around a conference table, and you have to raise your hand and say, "Can you explain what that is to me?" That's intimidating.
yeah. I when I was a young APM and I got assigned my first buyout, I was studying the data. I was studying the drawings. I figure I got to know this. And a PM gave me some good advice. He's like, "Make this up, teach you. Ask them questions.
Sure,
Exactly.
they're the
make,
expert.
Make them tell you their scope." I'm like, that's genius.
Can I do
And
that?
so I got really good at going, oh, well, I don't have the answers, but I can just ask them. Now, sometimes it showed through and they're like, "Kid, you don't know what you're talking about. So bring the actual project manager in here so we can get this done." That
Well,
happened.
that's right. You're the AP.
I was a kid, but it gave me that confidence to be able to go, "Oh, well, I can ask. Tell me how you're going to do this. Combine that with what I think I know and go, oh, I figured this out. I'm a smart guy. I can figure this out."
So I'm going to switch topics a little bit here. Jeff, you and I met on a job site, realistically.
Yeah.
There was a
Improve on,
project.
yeah.
I was the project manager for the electrical contractor. You were the project manager for the general.
Yep.
We were both in our early 30s.
Yes.
And they gave us
The
control.
gigantic job to build.
A $125 million
Ish,
tower
yeah.
for senior living.
Yeah.
It was the first time I ran into you was during the buyout process.
Mhm.
And I came in and we did bid leveling and we presented. I was with my boss, who was the head of estimating and pre-construction, and I was working as the assistant estimator, but I was going to become the project manager on this job.
Right.
And we got the job, and then you called a meeting to go through all the electrical scope in one day. And I had just all the electrical, but I also had all the low voltage systems, the fire alarm, the nurse call, the patient monitoring systems. So I
Access
show
control.
up thinking I'm prepared for this meeting on like a Tuesday at 8 a.m. And Jeff has got a conference table in this on site in their building, their existing building. It's big enough for 30 people to sit at, as I recall. It was big.
It was a big room.
He had arranged for lunch to be brought in so nobody would leave. I had to have all my subs present for the whole day.
Yeah.
We rotated a little bit.
And he started the meeting out. I remember, I won't be able to quote it verbatim, but it was something like, "Thank you all for coming. Nobody's leaving till we go through all of this. I've brought in lunch, and this meeting will end when it's done." Like
Power move.
And I nicknamed, and I thought Jeff was so much older than me and so much better than this than I was, and I nicknamed him the Machine in my head because he just went methodically through the entire electrical scope. We were there for like 10 hours. It was still like
We were there a
5 or
long
6 at night. We started at 7 or 8 in the morning, and it went well into the, like, everybody on the job site had left, and we were still sitting there going through scope. And I just remember thinking, this guy is so prepared, and I am so not. And I still don't prepare like this.
So
Jeff
One of your
does prepare
superpowers, I think, is your level of prep, that you want to make sure you have gone through everything and know it as well as your sub does, so that you don't get surprised by anything and that you ask really intelligent questions. Would you agree with that, or do you think it's some variant of that.
It's a variant of that. I agree. I do prep for things. I don't like to be unprepared. I don't think it's a superpower. I think it's more of an Achilles for me. But
that's two sides of the same coin.
Well, so okay. The flip side of that, the my side of that story is yes, that meeting happened, and yes, I organized it that way, but the truth is that I had very little understanding of how all those systems were going to work together. I knew they did and had some concepts, but the scale of it scared the shit out of me. Mm-hmm. And so I figured the only way to do this is just literally, let's eat the elephant all today. Let's just do it all today.
Okay.
I figured that's like, okay, I don't know if Greg's in charge of access control, if that has anything to do with the fire alarm. It might, or it might not. So I'm just going to make sure everybody's sitting in the room and we're going to start asking questions.
Well, I'm going to tell you a little secret, which is that I was the electrical contractor and I bought all that stuff and I bid it and I won the job and I had no clue either. I showed up that day going, I'm going to learn some today. I'm going to learn how these guys talk. Because I had like 5 different subs in the room. I had fire alarm. We had our security system controller. Then we had our specials, the nurse call and the patient monitoring, which were specific medical systems. And then we had the whole backup generator. We had to get people from the phone company in to talk to the elevators, to talk to these different systems. And then there was all this stuff going on. And I'm like, I don't know how any of these things work either. If the fire alarm goes off, does it turn off the patient monitoring system so that they can escape? Or we lock them in anyway?
I was mostly concerned that we just had a complete scope. I've always been afraid of scope gaps. I learned some good lessons about, I got burned on scope gaps. So I figured, this is how we're going to make sure. It's that old, let's get all the liars in the same room kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Greg, what's your superpower? I have some ideas about what your superpower is.
Okay. I'd love to hear that.
Well, what do you think your superpower is? I'm an outside observer, so I see you. I have never seen you on a construction site or running a construction business. I've only seen you as a consultant.
True. I'm going to go back to what Jeff's and you were just talking about. It's again, two sides of the same coin. The prep, I'm not so much of a deep prepper. But, were you guys ever into public speaking?
Very much.
Okay, so I used to be terrified of public speaking when I was younger.
Everybody was.
Right. But I learned this lesson that the only way to not be truly afraid of something is to do it over and over and over and over. And it doesn't mean get up in front of people over and over. It means in your bedroom at night, before you have to give a speech, give that speech. Don't give that speech once to yourself in the mirror. Give it 200 times if you have to. Take the time, stop what you're doing, look yourself in the mirror and read that speech over and over and over and over. And when you do it for real, you will have stammered on every word, you will have made every mistake, you will have frozen on every time. And when you get up and do it for real, your fear is gone because you practiced. And I'm a practicer is what I am. I'm not so much a prepper, but I will make sure that I've thought through like a client meeting, a calendar invite. I do it when I'm driving. I like to think ahead. What's point A to point B? How long is that going to take? So I think in my career, I've always been that way. I like to plan ahead and think ahead and plan it out. It might not be that way because things change, but I can see the end before I start the beginning. That's
really interesting. I did not know that about you.
Yeah.
I did not know that. It's not what I would have guessed.
Oh, it would have been weird. It would have been really cool if that's what you had said.
So what do you think is superpower is?
Yeah.
I think that Greg sees things in numbers that nobody else sees. I see the way he interprets data, the way that he looks at math, the way he looks at financial statements, the way he interprets that data. I do a lot of that too. But when I've sat down and looked at things with Greg, he has a different way of looking at things. And I don't think it's just having a finance background. I think that your brain is wired a certain way to make those connections, and those inferences. And I do a lot of that, like interpreting the data. The data always tells a story. It just tells you a different story than it tells me sometimes. And I like your story better, just because I think it has more detail.
I like that. I think that's right. And I like that. I like that you noticed that.
You'll take that.
I will take that. That's a good one.
So I've been trying to think about what my superpower is. And I think a lot of it is the opposite of yours. Like, I don't prep. No. I have you joke that I'm like a gunslinger, but I do prep certain things, kind of like what you said. if I have a really important email to write, I will start writing that email in my head hours before I actually am going to sit down at a keyboard.
Yeah,
if I have to have a
that's the same
difficult
concept.
conversation with somebody, I start practicing and thinking about different ways to have that conversation hours before, days before I have that conversation. And then I'm very meticulous about writing it out or having those conversations. But like going into client meetings or walking into that meeting with you where I thought I was prepped because I had the drawings under my arm. I'm like, I got this.
Yeah.
I realize I don't prep at all, but I'm very good at dancing and thinking very quickly on my feet. And I can navigate my way through 90% of what the world throws at me with no prep.
I think so. I agree with you. That is it. You
I
are
agree.
a gunslinger.
I
that way.
agree with that too. That's how you.
But I think what's behind that is I guess it's a self-confidence thing that you know that you can. You seem to know that. It's not It's
I don't know what's going to come out, but I know it'll
it's
probably
like
be pretty good.
I don't have the words for it. It's like the opposite of like performance anxiety. It's just
It's confidence.
It's confidence.
I'll freaking swim. I'll swim.
Yeah.
Jumping in.
Yeah.
I don't have that necessarily. I feel like I got to kind of think about it a little bit.
What's amazing to me is a lot of that happens, and I'm amazed that it happened. Like I talk to these Wall Street investors, and they're asking me, they don't give me any prep. They tell me the topic. Like, we want to talk about construction software today. And I'm like, great, let's talk about construction software. I have no idea what they're going to throw at me. And the way that I did this with an investment company in Australia a couple weeks ago, and it was a whole new software I'd never heard of. They're asking me to compare it to something here in the States. They're asking about viability in the marketplace. And I was able to answer what I thought was really intelligently, and they agreed. They valued what I said. And I had no way to prep for what they were going to ask me because I'd never heard of half of what they were talking about. And I never thought about how does Australian software break into the US market and what might their specific software, how that might perform in our market. But I was able to answer it with a lot of, I thought, well thought out, logical responses, and they agreed. But it's like that with clients too. Some of the best stuff I've ever said in front of a client was because they put me on the spot with a unique situation. There was no way I could have prepped for it. My brain was able to kind of figure out the puzzle and spit out a intelligent, intelligible, and pretty accurate, response or solution
in real time.
In real time,
Because it's happening.
I'm processing in real time.
Yeah.
And I don't think AI will ever be able to do that. I'm going to throw that in there. That's not that AI can't do.
AI.
It can process facts, but it's hard to make it think creatively, maybe is a good way to put it. And I think we're all pretty creative problem solvers here.
Yeah.
I just happen to be able to do it without prep for some reason. I don't know, maybe it's because I did so many jigsaw puzzles as a kid.
I don't know. I know that in the 5 years we've been together at Ascent, although I think you think I prep more than I do now, I prep a lot less. I've learned from you to rely on my experience, knowledge, just straight up intellect, whatever the case may be at the time. Instinct, whatever the case may be at
Experience.
the time.
Because now we all have experience with it.
I've learned to rely on that a lot more. Although to others, it might look like I still prep a lot. To me, it feels like I'm much more kind of going from the hip.
Oh, I'm glad you're starting to feel that way.
Yes.
Let me know when you want to dance, like in a competition.
Okay.
Okay. That I'll pay to see that. Thank you for joining us on today's Hot Takes podcast. We pulled the curtain back a little bit today on us and our careers in construction, how we got into it, and some of the things we learned along the way. And please join us for all of our future episodes, and go back to our past episodes and listen anywhere you get your podcasts on Spotify and Apple Music. And join us at our website, ascentconsults.com. And we look forward to seeing you the next time.